Hi first years and welcome to the CPUT FYE series of video tutorials where we take you through the basics of a lot of software packages that you'll be expected to use during your time here at CPUT. We're going to teach you the basics so that you can spend more time working and studying and less time trying to figure out the software that you need to use. The first package that we're going to take a look at today is Microsoft Word. But before we get stuck in, let's just quickly ask ourselves, what is Word? Well, Word is what we call a word processing package. And a word processing package is a piece of software that is designed for writing things. You're going to use this a lot in your time at CPUT, whether you're writing up reports, essays, assignments, or even your thesis one day. Having a good knowledge of Word will help you waste less time trying to figure out the software and spend more time really working on that project and getting it refined and looking really, really good. So, once you've opened up Microsoft Word, one of the first things that you need to do is know how to create a new document. So to do that, we come up here to the File menu. Now, different versions of Word may look slightly different, but the menus will all serve exactly the same purpose. So you just need to find where that File menu is. In the version of Word that I'm using, it's in the top left, and for most versions, it should be in the same place. So we click on File, and we come down to New. Now there's a lot of options here and we'll talk about them later, but the first one we want to get out the way is New, which is how we create a new document. So I'm just going to click on New, and as you can see I've got lots and lots of options here. We can choose whether we want to make a blank document or a blog post, or we can use one of the many templates that are available in Microsoft Word. So for example, if you wanted to make a business card, for example, or a birthday card, you can come in here and use one of the templates, an invitation or an invoice. But 99% of the time, you're going to just be creating a blank document. So we click on blank document over here, and then we choose create. What this does is it creates a brand new empty page where we can start typing. But before we start typing, we want to make sure that our page is set up correctly. Now, what do I mean by having our page set up correctly? I mean, we want to make sure that we're typing on a page that is the correct page size. You get different sizes of paper everywhere you go in the world, but the size that we use here in CPUT is A4. That's the standard paper size that we use in South Africa. So we want to make sure that our page is set up to be A4 sized so that we don't print incorrectly when it comes time to deliver our project. So to do that, we come up here to the little tab that says Page Layout and we click on it. Now, each of these things is called a ribbon, each of these tabs here, and they've got lots of options underneath them. The one you're on by default is called Home, and that's the one we're going to spend most of our time on. But before we get started typing, we're going to quickly come up to Page Layout, and we're going to choose Size here, which is where we select the page size. So I click, and as you can see, I already have A4 selected. If you scroll up and down here, you can see that there's lots of different options when it comes to page sizes. You can have A4 or A5, which is half the size, or you could choose letter size, which is what they use overseas. But here in South Africa and at CPUT, the paper that we use is A4, so we just need to make sure that A4 is selected. Once that's done, you choose your orientation, whether you want your page to be upright like this or lying on its side. Most of the time we'll want things upright or what we call portrait orientation. So to make sure we have that set up correctly, we click on Orientation and we choose Portrait. I'll just show you what landscape looks like. I'll zoom out a little bit. So you see landscape is where your page is lying on its side. Portrait is where it's upright, like a normal page. Once you've chosen your size and your orientation, you're pretty much good to go. So we're going to move away from the page layout for now, and we're going to click on the Home tab. Now that we've decided on our page size, we can actually get typing. So let's type something. Let's start typing. So I'm just going to clear my page. You basically just click on the page where you want to start typing, and it's normally up here at the top, and you'll see this little flashing bar here. That basically signifies to you that that's where the text is going to appear. And I'm just going to start typing. I'll say, "Hello world. I am really enjoying my time at CPUT!" Exclamation mark. So we've typed something now. Fantastic. What can we do to really jazz that up though? Because in Microsoft Word, there's loads and loads of ways that you can really jazz up and make your projects and your assignments and your essays look really, really nice. And one of the most easy ways to do that is to manipulate the font. Now when we talk about font, what we're actually talking about is the actual style of the text on the screen. As you can see here, we've got quite a plain text, but you could make it cursive, you could make it handwriting. Generally, we don't do that in academic writing, but it's important just to know how to do it, so that if you ever do need to change your font, you can. So to change our font, what we need to do is we need to select the text that we want to change. Because you can have loads of different fonts in a single document, and you basically change your font on a text-by-text basis. I want to change the font of Hello World. So what I do is I move my mouse cursor over to the beginning, and I click and hold down the mouse button, and I basically select Hello World and the full stop. I've selected that text, so any changes I make will affect only that text. If I wanted to affect everything, I would need to select everything. And you do that in exactly the same way, clicking and holding down the mouse and dragging to the selection. But I just want to affect the Hello World, and I want to make it a nice heading. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the font. Now to do that, I'm going to come up here to this little option here. Now Calibri is the standard font size that we have in the standard font that we have in Microsoft Word, but there's loads to choose from. If you click over here, you'll see you've got lots and lots and lots of options as we scroll down, and they each have their own look and feel. I'm going to choose Century Gothic for my font. So I'm going to click on Century Gothic, and it may not be that obvious. Let me pick another one that's more obvious. Let's choose that one. So you can see now Hello World has got a different font to the rest of the sentence, which is still in Calibri. I'm going to put these on two separate lines. So to do that, I'm just going to click right before the word I, and I'm going to press Enter. Enter or return is the way that we start a new line. So any text after that will be pushed down a line. It's very, very handy. So now that I've changed the font by clicking, holding down my mouse and dragging over Hello World, I want to change the size of the font. I want this to be my heading. So I need to come up next to where the font selection is, and here's the little font size drop-down menu. So I'm going to click over here, and as you can see, we have lots and lots and lots of numbers to choose from. This is the size of your font. The smaller the number, the smaller the writing is going to be on the page. The bigger the number, the bigger the writing is going to be. So currently my font is set on size 11. And a lot of the time at university, you'll see your lecturers say that you need to have your font as Arial. So you'll go over here and choose Arial as your font, and they want size 12. That's very often a standard. Size 12 Arial is a lot of the time what you're going to need to deliver your projects in. But let's get a little more creative here. I'm going to choose a fun font, and I want to increase the size. So to do that, I can either click the little drop-down menu over here and choose a new number. So let's say 22. And as you can see, the font is now much, much bigger. An easier way to do that is to use these little buttons over here, which is the little A with the up arrow and A with the down arrow. These basically increase the font size or decrease the font size. So I want to make this font nice and big. So I've got my text selected, and I'm going to click this button a few times. As you can see, every time I click it, the text gets bigger. If I say, oh, I've gone too far, it's a little bit too big, I can click the decrease font size and bring the size down a little bit. It's very, very handy. So now we know how to type, we know how to change our font, and we know how to change our font size. Let's talk a little bit about alignment. Now what alignment is basically, is my text on the left margin, on the right margin, or is it floating in the middle of the page? Most of the time, the text that you type, you'll want to have sitting on the left margin. That's kind of the accepted way that we do things. But for a heading, we could potentially put it in the middle. So let's do that. I'm going to take my text that says Hello World, and I'm going to select it just like I did when I changed my font. And I'm going to click on this little button over here. These are the alignment buttons. We have left alignment, which means that my text is sitting on the left margin, as you can see that's doing now. I can choose right alignment, which will put my text on that side of the page. And I can choose center alignment, which will put my text in the middle. Because Hello World is a heading, I want it in the middle, so I'm going to click center align. And now you can see I've got my text in the middle of the page, but the rest of the text that wasn't selected is still here on the left. Just to get it up to standard, I'm going to change it to Arial size 12. So I select this text. I'm going to click up here and go to Arial. So we get down to Arial. And I'm going to choose size 12. Fantastic. So now we know how to align our text, we know how to change fonts and font sizes. Most of the time you'll just be typing normal sentences, but occasionally you'll want to list things, either in bullet points or with a numbered list. So let's do that now. I'm going to write a few points, and then we're going to put them in a bullet list. So let's do that now. My list is going to be some of the things I really enjoy about studying. And I'm going to put a little colon at the end so that we know that it's a list. I'm going to press enter because on the next line I'm going to start my bullet points. Now, To create a bullet point list, you come up here just above your alignment buttons and you choose this little button here. This is for bullet points. This one over here is if you want a numbered list. Sometimes, if the order or the number of things is not really important, you'll just go for bullet points. But if you have a numbered list and the numbering is important, you'll click over here on the numbered button. We're just going to choose a bullet list for now, and I'm going to click over here. As soon as you click on it, you'll see a little bullet point appears. That's very exciting. So now we've got a bullet point list, and we can start typing things. So some of the things I really enjoy about studying, one of them could be, for example, meeting new people. I press enter at the end of a point and it starts a new point automatically. Broadening my mind. And you can go on and on. Sometimes you want to have a sub list, so you'll want to maybe talk more specifically about broadening your mind. So I press enter to make another bullet point, and I want to create a point sort of underneath broadening my mind. So to do that, I press the tab button. If you look on your keyboard, it's just to the left of the letter Q. So I press that, and all of a sudden I've got a sub bullet point. So I can say, by attending lectures. Oopsie daisy, I made a spelling mistake. I'll get back to spelling mistakes in a moment. That's actually good. I've done that. By attending lectures, by researching, and by writing essays. So I've made my bullet point list. I want to get out of it. To do that, I just press enter twice, 3 times, and we're away. Now we can carry on typing. So now we have seen how, and you can carry on going from there. I'm going to delete this text by pressing the backspace. Now, as you can see, I've made a spelling mistake in the word attending. I've written it with an L at the front, which is incorrect. Microsoft Word has got a very, very good built-in spell checker. But to make best use of it, you need to make sure that your dictionary is correct. So down here at the bottom, you can see I've got my dictionary set to English UK. You choose the language of the text that you're typing in. So if you were to type in French, for example, you would go down here and choose the French dictionary, and then it would pick up spelling mistakes for French words. At the moment, we're using English, so I'm just going to leave it on English, and it can see that, wow, this word doesn't exist, attending. But Word is very, very clever in that it can sort of identify a lot of the time the word that you're trying to type. And to figure that out, all we do is we right-click on the word that's highlighted, and it'll give us some suggestions. So you see here at the top, Word thinks that we may be trying to type the word attending. And to change, all I do is I just left-click, and it's automatically changed. That's very, very helpful. So you know how to create bullet points, we know how to type text. I'm just going to show you 1 or 2 more quick things, and that is some of the sort of research functionality that's available in Word. As I said, this is a very basic tutorial, so we're not going to go into too much detail. But for example, if you want to use a different word that means the same thing, normally you would have to look in a thesaurus. But what Word has is it's got a built-in thesaurus. So if you want to, say, find a different word for meeting, I'll right-click on the word meeting, and I'll come down to synonyms. And Word will suggest a bunch of options for words that mean essentially the same thing, but are different. So that's very, very handy, and it saves you from having to look it up in a thesaurus. You can also go over here to look up, and you can search for it in an encyclopedia or a dictionary or that sort of thing. Word has got all these options built in. It's a very, very handy feature. So once I've done and I've typed my assignment, it's time to actually save. So to do that, I come back up here to the File menu, where I originally created my new document. I click on File, and then I click Save up here at the top. What happens then is it'll bring up a menu that'll ask me where I want to save it, and that's important because you need to know where you saved it. And it's always advisable to save your documents firstly in 2 places, so save it maybe on the computer you're using and on a flash drive, and also to save it in a place that you remember. So don't just save it wherever Word suggests, know where you're putting it, because you don't want to not be able to find it later. And also name the file something that means something to you. So for example, I would call this Hello World Essay, and I would save that. That file you can then print or email to your lecturers to hand in as an assignment. I hope that this video has helped you, and please join us for other future videos in the series where we're going to take a look at other software packages, including PowerPoint, Excel, and how to get the most out of Blackboard. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.